Hey everybody, Mark Wahlberg here. No teddy bears, no Transformers, just Boston. And Mark Wahlberg. What is up, Flick fans? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking the brand new Netflix film directed by Peter Burke. This is Spenser Confidential. So, when two Boston police officers are murdered, ex-cop Spenser teams up with no-nonsense roommate Hawk to take down criminals. So like I said, this is another Peter Burke and Mark Wahlberg. All the Burks. I like burgers. Gotta stop doing that. Team up, we've seen plenty of these before. The most recent being Mile 22, which I just wasn't the biggest fan of. I thought that movie fell completely flat, which is odd because I love their other movies together. I'm a massive fan of Lone Survivor, Deepwater Horizon, yes please. I even really enjoyed Patriots Day. Really, all of their projects up until recently have worked for me, but what we have going on with those three that works so well with those two together is the fact that all of those movies were based on a true story. Mile 22 tried to be more of an action-centric film with this giant team coming together in almost a Fast and Furious way. The issue with that film is that it was just so convoluted and the action was some of the worst, most choppy action I've seen in quite some time. So that film fell flat. Now, what I was excited for in Spenser Confidential is, one, you have this team up that has worked the majority of the time, and two, you're going in more of a comedic buddy cop direction. It's redoing a story that we've seen before, but if you're bringing something different to the table with a fun action star like Mark Wahlberg, then it has the opportunity to do some things that we've never seen before. Now, does this movie do that? No. And that's my big issue with the film, and we'll get into that a bit later. It just doesn't really do anything new. What we see in this film are ideas and concepts that we've seen 1,000 times before, and sometimes that works, right? It all comes down to the execution. And the fact that you have this team up specifically in Winston Duke and Mark Wahlberg, that is probably the most exciting thing you can throw into a movie like this, because Winston Duke, he's a guy that complements the skill set of Mark Wahlberg very well, and I have to say, there is some fun to be had in this film. It is audience-friendly. Spenser Confidential is an easy watch. It went at a brisk pace. There are a lot of fun elements when you look at the back and forth between the two. The chemistry works well at times, and there are enough jokes in there and enough humor to keep the action going and keep the story moving forward. And if that's the movie you're looking for, I think this film's for you. I think Spenser Confidential is going to make a lot of people happy. Being on Netflix, I think it's perfectly suited for this specific platform, and I do believe the audience is going to respond. I watch a ridiculous amount of movies, so the fact that I have seen this movie before and seen it done better should not sway you from the fact that there is fun to be had within this film. And you have Peter Burke. He's a competent director, and he does not bring that choppy action from Mile 22 into this movie. I think he learned from that mistake. What he does, he injects an amount of humor that we've never really seen in his films before. Where my flaws come into the movie, not everyone's going to pick it apart meticulously like this, but the script is so familiar and so full of buddy cop cliches. And I'm talking almost every trope we have seen from a buddy cop movie, and the most predictable third act slash villainous storyline. I don't even want to begin to approach what happens, even though it will be obvious when you're watching the movie. I guarantee half of you guys, maybe more so, will figure out, oh, that's what's going on. And even though the chemistry was really good between the two actors, I never understood why they cared so much about each other. They never really built on that relationship more so than a few conversations, and then they're going out into the field and doing what they're doing, which is fun. There's one scene in particular in the third act when they come busting through in a vehicle. That was a lot of fun. So some cool action scenes within, but it all almost feels void of emotion because of all of these buddy cop tropes, because of the fact that the script is so obvious when it comes to what's happening within the story, and you have the crooked cops, you have all of the things going down within the Boston, the police force, this and that, and it sounds interesting, probably even more so on paper, but when it comes to revealing these things to the audience, we feel like we already knew what was coming. We feel like we know where this is going in the third act, and if you think you know how this movie is going to end, you probably know how this movie is going to end. And for a movie like this that relies on us trying to fit these puzzle pieces together, because because that's part of the intrigue. It's far too obvious to sit back, turn my brain off. Now, that's me specifically. Not everyone's going to feel that way. Like I said, it is a breezy watch, but I needed more. I required a bit more from the script. And while the action is fun, you have this MMA-style action at points, and it almost feels out of place for who Mark Wahlberg is fighting and where he learned some of those skills from. We got a lot of fleshing out of Wahlberg's character, but not so much of Winston Duke's. And what he did play in the movie, he played well. I just needed so much more from that relationship. And I get it. Austin, you can't just turn your brain off and enjoy a movie like this. Well, I had a bit of fun with it at times, but the execution is where it faltered a bit for me. And I just expect more from this duo because they've done it in the past. And I want them to do it with the movie not based on a true story. The day I see that from Peter Berg, the day I'll say he's getting back on track, because the last two movies just haven't been as good as his prior efforts. Also, a cameo from Post Malone that I actually thought was pretty fun, one of my favorite parts of the movie. If you guys enjoy this video, if you like what we're doing on this channel, reviewing Netflix movies and shows every single weekend, be sure to smash that thumbs up button and leave your comments on this film below. I am still going right down the middle, though, for Spenser Confidential. I'm going a 50%. It's a film that needed to execute a bit better on a lot of elements to get me more invested in the story. I did feel like some of the humor was out of place, but some things worked as well. It's something they can build off of in the inevitable sequel because they set it up, so you got to go for it if it does well on Netflix. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'll be back later on today with a review for The Way Back and plenty more Netflix movies and TV shows. I'll see you soon.